What's up, everyone? It is me, the big dog, named Austin. Divisional round happened 3 days ago. And I'm going to tell you, it was a good slate of games. We had a really good slate of games. Let me get right into it, man, because we don't have much time. I'm kidding, we have plenty of time. But I do need to stall while I pull up the score app. That way I can have all my stats and all my stuff. But let's get into it. The Baltimore Ravens host the Houston Texans, the very first game of the weekend. I thought it was going to be closer than what it was. I really did. I really thought C.J. Stroud would go off. But, man, congratulations to the Baltimore Ravens. It was 10-10 at halftime. And there was some words said in the Ravens locker room. Lamar Jackson said there was something said. And then Kyle Van Noy got on. Pat McAfee said he didn't want to make it a bigger thing than what it was. But obviously, whatever was said in the locker room at halftime, tied at 10, was they needed because they ended up winning. Was it 34-10? Let's see. Yeah, 34-10. Lamar Jackson did Lamar Jackson things. I mean, he's the MVP, right? He's got to be the MVP. I know they don't consider. Do they consider playoff stuff? I don't think they do, right? It's all regular season, right? But they just announced it after the playoffs. But Lamar Jackson, 16 of 22, 150. Excuse me, I'm going way too fast. 16 of 22, 152 yards and 2 touchdowns, no picks, 121.8 quarterback rating. He also, let's see if he had rushing, because I know he had some rushing yards. He had a couple rushing touchdowns. On the ground, Lamar Jackson had 11 carries for 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. So, was it 4 total touchdowns for Lamar Jackson? 2 in the air, 2 on the ground. Absolutely incredible stuff. The Texans did not cross the opposing team's 25-yard line. Never got inside the opposing team's 25-yard line. The only touchdown that the Texans scored all game was a punt return, which I thought at that point, because the Ravens were up 10-3, at that point I'm like, okay, here we go. This is the momentum that the Texans needed, and then they went into halftime, and then the rest is history. So, and also without Mark Andrews. And now, going into the AFC Championship game at home, they might get Mark Andrews back, which is huge. He's been out for a little while. But the Ravens, the number 1 seed in the AFC, they advance to the AFC Championship game, and they host the Kansas City Chiefs. The Kansas City Chiefs in the last game in Divisional weekend, the best game of the weekend. I mean, it lived up to the hype. It was one of the best games in this rivalry. I mean, it's not the best game in this rivalry, but it's one of the best games in this rivalry between the Bills and the Chiefs, Mahomes and Allen. Josh Allen can't get it done against Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs. I don't know what's going to happen to this team because the coaching's in question. I did not like that fake punt. That fake punt to Damar Hamlin where they checked out of it because apparently they saw 10 guys in the field. I don't know. It was horrible. Then they got bailed out by that touchback. Which let's discuss that rule real quick here for a second because I hate the rule. Where you work all this, you go all the way down the field, and you get there and you reach out and you fumble the ball across the goal line. It goes out of the back of the end zone to the side of the end zone, and it's a touchback. I hate the rule, but I always get to this point to where I'm like, okay, then what's the alternative? If you take that rule away, like we're defending this end zone, right? And if you lose the ball and it goes out of the back of the end zone, whose ball is that? Like I get it. It's just, it sucks. And in that moment, you have to not reach. That's what coaches preach. Because it's very dangerous. You can lose the ball. I understand the rule. I get it. It sucks. It's probably the worst rule of football, but what do you do? How do you change it? What do you offer as an alternative? Because to me, is the most difficult part in changing that rule, is offering a solid alternative to if you fumble the ball, if you're on the 1-yard line and you reach across the goal line and somebody knocks the ball out and it goes out of the back of the end zone, then what? It's tough, but that absolutely bailed out the Buffalo Bills, but they didn't really capitalize on that. Let's go ahead and get to that game real quick. I know I'm kind of jumping all over the place. The final score of that was 27-24. I just think that, what do you do with this was a fly in here? Where the hell did you come from? It's freezing outside. Anyway, Josh Allen, I mean, he's a great football player, but he just can't seem to get it done. Can't seem to get to the big one, and I think that's going to loom large over his head. I really thought this was the year. I picked the Bills to win. I thought they'd win at home. They were favored by 3, and they lost by 3. And I mean, the Tyler Bass missed field goal was sucked, but it's not on him. Okay, they needed to get a touchdown. They needed to go and get a touchdown. They were doing their checkdowns, hitting their running backs, or running the ball really well. And then in the fourth quarter, in that last drive, they decided to throw to their wide receivers. So I'm not real sure what's going on with that. Sean McDermott might lose his job. He really might. I don't know for sure. The Bills, they've always been there these last few years. They've been there. They've won the division. They've been in the playoffs. But they can't get past the Chiefs. So the Chiefs are moving on to play the Baltimore Ravens in Baltimore. Now let's move over to the NFC. The Green Bay Packers, their luck ran out. I thought that they were going to win that game against the 49ers. The 49ers did not play all that well. Deebo Samuel went out early. I thought it was a concussion when it happened. It ended up being a shoulder injury. I think he is 50-50 to play this game upcoming against the Lions. But he was out, and Christian McCaffrey, he got the majority of pretty much everything. He had 17 carries for 98 yards and 2 touchdowns. I need to check the receiving stats. He had 30 yards receiving. So he had over 120 yards, total yards for Christian McCaffrey, the 2 touchdowns. Aaron Jones seemed to run pretty well on the Niners defense. I thought he ran pretty well. He had 18 carries for 108 yards, no touchdowns. Jordan Love, 21 of 34, 194 yards, 2 touchdowns. He did have the 2 picks. Had that pick at the end of the game where he kind of rolled out and kind of threw across his body and threw the interception. But this was his first year starting. I think Packers fans, they see what Jordan Love is, and they're very excited. So the Packers, shout out to the Packers being the first 7 seed to advance to the second round. Couldn't get it done against the number 1 seed. It was a lot closer than -9. Brock Purdy was, what did he do? 23 of 39, 252 yards and a touchdown. People are going on and on about him. If he can, this game didn't change a lot of people's opinions about Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy is still getting disrespected left and right all over the league. I'm still a little unsure of him. I'm not saying that he's trash, but without Deebo Samuel, he's not the same player. That team is not the same team. So if Deebo Samuel doesn't play against the Lions, I'm rooting for the Lions as it is. But if Deebo Samuel doesn't play against the Lions, that's a lot more tougher than originally expected. Then let's get to the last game. The Detroit Lions hosted the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This game was actually a pretty good game. I loved the fight that Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers showed. They fought their asses off. This is playoff football. Dan Campbell said it at halftime. Well, this is playoff football. Wasn't it tied? What was it? It was 10-10 at halftime, just like the Ravens-Texans game. 10-10 at halftime. It was a great game all around. The Lions did get up by 2 possessions, and then the Buccaneers did get the touchdown, 1 for 2, didn't get it. But later in the game, this was also kind of said on the internet, and I didn't pay attention to this. I watched the game, but I didn't even notice this. How the Lions snapped the ball with like 16 seconds left in the play clock as opposed to taking it down. And the Buccaneers had 1 timeout and could have called it, and something crazy could have happened. And Todd Bowles was like, well, they were going to kick a field goal, and they were going to go up by 11 anyway. You don't know that. I don't know. But what really matters is the Lions did it at the win of the game, and that city was rocking again. Tickets were like a minimum $1,100, $1,200. Crazy stuff. I've never paid that for a playoff game, and I've been to a few playoff games. Granted, that it's been more than 10 years since I've been to a playoff game, but I've been to a playoff game nonetheless, and they've never been that expensive. The last playoff game I went to was against the Chiefs in 2013. I think those tickets were about $90 each. Definitely not $1,100. That's tough to justify paying, from my perspective. But I completely understand. Like, go for it, man. If the Colts didn't make the playoffs for like 30 years, and I had the money, I would absolutely buy the ticket to go to that game for $1,100, $1,200. And they won. So congratulations to the Detroit Lions. I'm excited. I cannot wait for this next slate of games, championship weekend. Here we are on Wednesday. We've got 4 more days until championship weekend, championship Sunday. And then we get to see who goes to the Super Bowl. It's going to be exciting. I can't wait. But also, I keep saying it every time, We don't got much football left. And then what do we do for the next 8 months? Cherish it. Cherish it as long as you can because it's going away. We've got 3 games left. And they should be some incredible games. But that's all I got for you guys. I appreciate you guys sticking around. I want you guys to give me a like. Give me a subscribe. It got 192 subscribers. That's crazy. That's awesome. Let me get 8 more subscribers. Let's hit that 200 mark. That'd be crazy. But that, like I said, that's all I got for you guys. I appreciate you guys sticking around. I'm the big dog named Austin. Boom. Still got it. Go Colts.